Hey, boys and girls, it's Matthew, aka the Upwork guy. And all I'll say is that on Upwork, there is no one size fits all for cover letters. And in almost every instance, the cover letter needs to be changed pretty often. Even if something worked for 1, 2 months, maybe, and you get lucky, the third month might be something completely different, where you'll see pretty much no response if you don't iterate based on the market. So what I mean by that is just to say your market is actually the best indicator. It's the best way for you to get information to iterate. So let's say you sign a client of Upwork. You need to be asking them why they decided to pull the trigger. Why did they respond to your cover letter? What stood out to them in your cover letter? And then based on their answer, you just need to do more of it. Because even though I say that there's no one client that's the same, it's a fact that they're all in the same niche and they're all looking for pretty much the same thing. So if you can give them what they're looking for and you can garner what it is they're looking for by asking them directly, then there's no reason not to do this. So that's why I have a cover letter I've already written. I just need to send it, that I'd like to show you guys and tell you about a recent insight that I got from a client that I signed for my off. So here's the cover letter. So let's start by reading the job. They're looking for someone to help them with content curation and management on TikTok, Facebook, and possibly Twitter. So this will be for their clothing line, and the person will own end-to-end posting. They just want management, right? And content creation. So they also need the person to assist with minor administrative tasks, and I need you guys to remember this. So in the cover letter, you know that I always say this once again, but if you can't do a ton of volume, then you need to be personalized. I'm talking heavy personalization. And there are only 3 ways, at least that I know of currently, and that I've been testing with, for you to actually personalize a cover letter on Upwork. So one is through their name. So that's why you can either use hey name, your name, or when you're that, you could just do something as simple as their name in the cover letter at some point. Second is location. So on Upwork, you have broad locations and then you have super specific. So an example of a specific location would be like the state. Find that on Upwork, a lot of what they're doing or a lot of the locations are super broad. So it would just say United States or it would say Europe or whatever it is. So the moment you get a specific location like a state, I would write something based on the state. So I'd search up something. If it's Massachusetts, I'd search up something like 10 interesting things that you can do in Massachusetts. And then I'd write something based on that, just to show that I am paying attention to their profile or the information that's given there. And then the last thing is the job description, which is the most important. So showing that you've read the job description already puts you ahead of, I'd say, 90% of freelancers, because all the other freelancers are posting shit like epistles about them. Like, oh yeah, I've done this. I can do this. These are my skills. You should hire me because this, blah, 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 blah. Nobody's reading that. Just plain and simple. I see a lot of people do this. Nobody is reading an epistle on Upwork, right? If they can't see the end without scrolling, that's awful. Like, that's completely off. Let's dissect this cover a little. So don't have the first name. So I just put hey. So like, hey, creating highly converting and optimized content is my forte, especially if it's short form related. That is TikTok and Facebook. However, I don't typically do these minor administrative tasks that you're looking for. Let me know if that's a deal breaker. Why is this first line important? And this is why I told you to remember what it is that I said in the beginning. So I made it clear what I could do and what I couldn't. And this is actually an insight that the client of a client assigned actually gave to. So I had written a cover letter for my client. He got a job from it. And then I asked him to ask his client what made them decide to really pull the trigger with him. And they said it's the fact that, one, it was evident that we read the job description and we crafted the cover letter based on it. And two, it's the fact that we were willing to tell him what we couldn't do, right? So oftentimes freelancers try to pander to the prospect to the point where if the prospect told them to, bend over and jump into a precedent, like they would. You need to be, they're human beings as well. So if you take on a job that you aren't really qualified to do, you're just harming yourself for temporary gratification, which in this case is money. And that's not helping your case or anyone else's case for that matter. You're just shooting yourself in the foot. So just to finish it up, so I've created and scaled social media brand for our clients in less than 90 days. One of which was my Twitter account with 2K followers in a little over 3 months. And I thought there would be an opportunity to do the same for your business. So I made a 3-minute video on our process. Can I send it to? That's it. That's the entire cover letter. And then I have a little 2 PS line. So PS, my portfolio and a Google Drive link containing all my past results, testimonials, and case studies have been linked and below. So they can peruse this if they want to, or they can hop onto my profile if they're interested in the first 4 paragraphs or so that I wrote. And then I have a PPS. Here's a Twitter account I mentioned. I've made a bold claim here because, 2K followers in a little over 2 months is decent, or 3 months is decent. And they also want Twitter growth, right? And I did mention that in my first line, if you realize. I said that was my forte, was video stuff, because that's what's in my portfolio. I know that's what's in there. But ever since writing this cover letter, I've been doing stuff on Twitter. And I think that dropping it here would also prove competence, which is why I did it. So in their question, they have, please list the availability for next. So this is actually one of the first times I've ever seen anybody outright ask for this on the questions. But I'm going to do what I always, especially when I get a response, and that's just to send them a calendar link. I don't like the back and forth. And I have an intake form on my calendar, which basically shows to me whether or not they're qualified. If they're not qualified, I'd let them know based on pricing, and we can forego a meeting until a later date. It's just much easier on both sides, and it wastes less time. That's the entire cover letter. And in this instance, I'd set a bid here. So a lot of people have been coming to me about this whole bidding thing. They've been coming to me and talking to me about this whole bidding process and how they can't do it. First things first, when you bid on a project, even if you don't win the bid, you'll get refunded all of the connects that you used to bid. Secondly, if your bid does go through, and the client reads it, then it's just up to the quality of your cover letter and your profile. So in my honest opinion, I don't mind the bidding feature. You need to be pretty confident in the fact that your cover letter and profile are duly optimized. But yeah, without further ado, I'm just going to end the video here. I hope you guys learned something from this, and happy sending as usual.